Hi everyone. So our lesson today is going to be on the Industrial Revolution, and it's a quick review of what we've already learned, but we're going to mostly focus on the social changes for the Native American during that time. So let's get into it. This lesson has three different components. So first we're going to watch a short video and answer some accompanied questions. And then the second part of the lesson, we're just going to do a quick review and then some other lecture slides. And as you go through the slides, you're going to be prompted to take some notes and click on some links, do a little bit of reading, and just answer a few questions. So just be aware of that as you go through your slides. And then the third part is at the very end, we're going to come up with a historical connection that addresses how Native American society changed. And this is going to be for your editorial article. If you can't think of anything, we will work on it in class, but I want you to at least try and make an attempt because during class we're going to be working on our article. So let's get into it. So I want you to watch the short video, and it's linked, and then you're going to answer these questions. After watching the video, what do you think kill the Indian, save the man means? And then also, why do you think Native American children were sent to boarding schools? So take a few minutes to do that, and we'll pretend that you did, and move on. So we're going to just do a quick review of the Industrial Revolution. We've already gone over this. If you guys need to recap on your own, feel free to click on the YouTube video link. But again, like I said, we've reviewed this. The Industrial Revolution began in the 1700s until the early 1900s, and it was basically a transfer of production from home to factories. And this was led by an increase in technology. Steam power led to the ability of factories to mass produce everyday products that people needed. In America, the Industrial Revolution contributed to westward expansion, agricultural development, and social changes for Native Americans. So let's just talk about westward expansion for a bit. After the Civil War, vast regions were opened up to settlement and economic development. So I want you to click on the link below. It might be really tiny since formatting got messed up, but if you have any issues, just let me know. Click on the link below, and I want you to read the short text and then answer the following two questions. Why was the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad a major contributing factor to westward expansion? And how were Native American lives affected as more and more settlers came west? So give specifics there on that last one. And then we're going to go into federal policies and the Indian problem, according to the federal government. So in 1851, the Indian Appropriations Act was passed, and it basically created the Indian reservation system. And this act made it federal policy to move Native Americans onto designated lands where they were kept, quote, under control. So sometimes feuding tribes were forced to live on the same reservation, and tribal members needed permission to leave the reservation. So needless to say, it wasn't a very pleasant experience for the Native Americans to be on a reservation system. And in 1887, the Dawes Act further shrunk Native American lands by dividing up the reservations into individual plots. And they did this to promote assimilation as farmers and ranchers. So this act opened up more western land for expansion for settlers and the railroads to come in and take over. So I want you to click on this link and just read the short text about the Dawes Act. And then I want you to write what you got from it, what you think assimilation is, and how were the Native Americans expected to assimilate under the Dawes Act. And here I want to talk about how Native American children were forced to assimilate during this time. So one way that they were forced to assimilate was by attending boarding schools. And sometimes the Native American children were taken by force. Sometimes it was the family's choice to send the kids off to boarding school. They thought that they would have better opportunities, and that basically they knew that their way of life was coming to an end, and they wanted their children to be able to be educated in the, quote, white man's ways. So all aspects of their native culture identity was erased at these re-education schools. Sometimes the process the process did include both physical transformations in the form of haircuts and westernized clothes, and others were westernized clothes was the physical transformation as well. If that doesn't make sense, just read the slide. Children were forbidden to speak their native tongues, and were even severely punished for that. So that definitely took on a social change for them that was very dramatic. And also their diet was a dramatic change for them. And there was so much psychological distress in these re-education situations that it contributed to nearly half of the students in the first 3 years that this Carlisle school was opened up. So needless to say, it was a very dramatic change for these young Native American children. So some of the lesson takeaways that I want you guys to think about for tomorrow, and that we're going to discuss tomorrow as we get into writing our editorial articles. I want you to watch the video from the beginning of the lesson, and I want you to compare your answers to that first question. Now, what do you think that kill the Indian, save the man means? And did your answer change? Why or why not? And in your opinion, was assimilation helpful to the Native Americans? Or was it hurtful? Why or why not? And the last question I want you to think about, and again, if you can't think of something, we can always discuss it in class tomorrow, but I want you to do your best to come to class with some kind of an idea. But the last question is assimilation still happening today, and can you think of an example? So these are all kind of guiding questions as we get into writing our editorial article for tomorrow. And we're going to talk about these issues and continue to discuss them, and also go into primary sources on 3 different historical perspectives that it'll be surprising to you guys, and we'll be able to choose from different characters, historical figures that you'll be writing your article on. So see you in class tomorrow.